Hey, it's Honey. It's me again, and I have a great guest for you, and you're going to love it, like always. So make sure you hit the subscribe and like buttons because it really does help my channel. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining me again today. And today I have a very special guest. She's amazing. She helps people get over trauma using her art. And look at this. This is an amazing piece of artwork that she did herself. If you've been through trauma, if you know someone who has, and you're looking for another way to get past all the craziness that you've been through, well, then you're going to want to pay attention today because my guest, she's just such a beautiful person inside and out. So stay tuned. Let's learn how to get rid of those trauma experiences with art. Hi, this is Honeygregory, and welcome to my channel, Perpetual Learning, where I'm always learning and sharing everything I learn with you guys, because you know what I always say, if you're not learning, you're dying. So here we go. I've got another amazing guest that you're going to absolutely love, of course. She is a dear, dear friend of mine. She's so, oh my God, I've known her since law school. She's just fantastic. She's a friend. She's an artist. She's a business owner, two-time business owner. She's studying to become an art therapist. I mean, the list goes on. She's just an amazing person and mom. And so I wanted to bring her on today for you guys. So please welcome Versi Rose Reed. Hey,
Hello,
Versi.
hello. Oh, sorry, my hand is not working.
That's
Hello.
okay. I'm checking this thing to see if it's working. So you can hear me okay, right?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay.
All right, awesome. Um, so the reason I just thought you're so well, we've known each other forever, so I've always thought you're, amazing. But and we met, gosh, back in law school 20 years ago or something.
I know. I know
It,
it's been a minute, hasn't it?
It's like so much life has happened since then. Like we were buddies and we used to go have fun and dancing and do all of our things and with all of our, fellow students. And then life happens and we kind of got drifted apart. And a few years ago, we ran into each other again and you shared with me all these great things that you're doing. And that's why I have your amazing art up here because you're such a fantastic artist. So why don't you just kind of tell everybody about yourself and your art and what's going on?
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so my name is Versi Rose Reed. I am currently an art studio owner here in Bedford, Indiana. I opened the Versi Rose Southern Indiana Art Therapy and Community Center. It's been about well, actually 3 years. It was in 2020 when this all kind of came in fruition. My
Wow.
child kind of got birthed out into the world
Aw.
during the middle of the pandemic, which both kind of, it was kind of the pause that I needed to kind of really hatch this out. But then also, I mean, it did kind of delay a lot of stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, that being said, I have a passion for art. I've always loved art. I've always used art in my own life. A little bit about my background. So when I met you, I was fresh out of IU. I
Mm-hmm.
graduated with a biology degree. I was so excited. I was a science girl. I love science. Science is like my jam.
Yeah.
But I always took art classes as a way to kind of balance that scientific life.
Right.
I would do drawing and painting classes because I enjoyed the way that they helped me understand and contain what I was going through with my scientific and more like mathematical life, if you will.
Right.
And so I've been very fortunate. I've been kind of able to harness both the right and the left hemispheres in sort of a weird concoction that allows me to get all this stuff
And
done.
that's really important. I'm glad you brought that up because I haven't thought about that in a while. But that's one of the things I love art too. And I think you and I are both the October babies, right?
Yep.
And, I think that's the thing because I'm always trying to balance my artistic side with my analytical side. And that's a challenge. And it takes a certain kind of person, and you do it very well, to be able to take both sides and integrate that into your life and your work.
Well, I'll have to be honest, like both of these things I work very hard at. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not 100% amazing at any one thing,
Oh,
but I'm
stop it.
pretty good at like, I've got a pretty good grip on several different things. So one could say that I struggled through the science part of it, but then, the art, I excelled. But
Mm-hmm.
honestly, like I have to watch a lot of videos, a lot of learning, a lot of technique, a lot of practice, a lot of failures,
Mm-hmm.
trial and error for sure, to get any of this stuff to work. And
Well, that's how
you
it
know,
works, right? When we're
I,
not born knowing how to do all these things, and it's
oh,
deciding I want to learn how to do something. That's why I put together this podcast, is because if we just sit around stagnant, we're not going to ever have our dreams. We're never going to make anything happen. We're never going to improve. And you're that exact example of someone that says, I want to do this and started doing it.
I would have to say that really that kind of philosophy goes right alongside with manifestation. I've heard a
Mm-hmm.
lot about
Yeah.
manifesting certain
Manifesting. Mm-hmm.
aspects of your life and success,
Mm-hmm.
and then following through. And really, I feel like it's setting an intention
Mm-hmm.
to do something, to learn something,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of following through. So that's why I like to tell people it's really when you start looking at your artistic creativity as a progress sort of product driven thing,
Mm-hmm.
you'll find that it's going to be full of heartache, it's going to be full of failure, it's going to be full of, oh, this is horrible. But when you start looking at it as a process,
Mm-hmm.
enjoying, trusting the process, that's what art therapy, they're always about saying, trusting the
Mm-hmm.
process of creating, the process of doing this, setting an intention to get to the goal, yes, but enjoying the process along
Mm-hmm.
that sort of pathway, that's when you start enjoying what you're doing. And I feel like that's when you start seeing more results out of, the work that you're actually putting into things.
Right. And it doesn't matter which guru or messiah or, person that you talk to. It's pretty simple. You conceive the idea, your dream, then you set forth that intention that this is what I want. Um, Speak it out, start making plans, believe in the fact that you can do it, that the universe or God or whatever you believe in is going to help you along the way. And then it just kind of starts happening because you've put it out there. And then next thing you know, you received it and you're just so caught up in stuff, you forget, that, oh, yeah, I got that thing that I was manifesting.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I mean, I do ascribe to a Christianity faith, and so I do feel
Mm-hmm.
very guided by my spirituality, but
Mm-hmm.
I will have to say a lot of it comes into play with really just being mindful of
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing and being mindful of what your end goal is, and then taking small bite-sized steps
Mm-hmm.
to get there. I
Love it.
mean, this person that you see before you is a pretty much a combination of several different factors and events that have happened throughout my life that I've learned from.
Of course.
I've, had some trauma that I've had to grow from.
Yep.
And I mean, I feel like everybody does.
Yeah.
Everybody has a history. Everybody
Absolutely.
has a sequence of events or environments or factors that have come together to produce who we are sitting in front of you today.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that for me, I was able to use those lessons I call my traumas and my experiences. Those are lessons to me,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they've been kind of a shaping factor that's made me kind of the person I am today, and then also it's shaped in, my experience with my art and
Yeah.
then everything else. I mean, because I'm also a mother of four kids. And
Yeah.
so,
Which is
yeah,
amazing
it's
all
all
by
part of it.
itself. Oh my gosh, girl. And your
Oh,
kids are all
yeah.
beautiful and smart, great kids.
Oh,
But they're challenging. They're each got their quirks and challenges, right? And so, just
oh,
that alone, my gosh, girl. Oh
oh
my
my gosh.
gosh.
Yeah, I know. Like, I have to,
No, no.
sometimes I have to art it out for my own self because I'm like, these children, they're testing me.
I
They're
need to go
testing
draw. Get away
me.
from me. I need mom
I
give mommy
do.
some space to draw.
I do. Actually, that's how the whole art therapy thing came up into effect. I was using art therapy for myself, and I
Mm,
learned through my own kind of creative process how to use my art to help contain,
mm-hmm.
to understand, to process things that were going on in my life.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what it was until I saw some individuals give some really good TED Talks, as well as, just convention, and just tell me like, oh, there's a name for this. It's actually art therapy.
Wow.
And here we go. You can actually get a degree in this. You can
I know.
study
When you
this.
told me about this, I was like, that is so cool. That is
Mhm.
really great. Um, because I've thought about getting a license in helping people with trauma because, I do so much that kind of work anyway as a lawyer, a divorce attorney. So I thought about getting, license and study. But when you told me about you were a student and you were learning this art therapy, I was like, dang, that is the coolest thing I've ever heard of. So you're about to graduate, right? And you're going to be professional at this.
Yeah, theoretically, if it all goes well, I have to write my thesis. My final thesis is what I'm
Ooh,
working on,
how long does it
and
have to be?
it's not so much that it has to be any certain length. I just have to make sure that I am representing my research in
Mm,
the most scholarly and
mm,
informed way. But I'm very fortunate that I've got a really good group of supervisors and committees coming behind me that are feeding into my development and feeding into
wow.
my research. So there is that. But yeah, so this is technically my last semester. I'm doing my last semester of internship and working on my thesis. And then
Wow.
I've got to put together an art show and some other stuff and actually present my thesis to in front of a committee. So there's
Yeah,
still some
panel.
stuff, yeah, that I'm
Yeah,
working on. But
yeah.
honestly, like it's the light at the end of the tunnel
Oh
now.
my
I
gosh.
can
Yeah, I know
see
you've
it.
been
I'm
at this
like,
for a
"Ah."
while because when you and I bumped into each other again and you were telling me, I was like, oh my God, you went back to school?
I know. I started this crazy process back in 2019. It was just one of those things that I had looked online. I had a name to it, art therapy. That's what they said.
Uh-huh.
So I start doing some research. So, go online, look at the resources that are available. And I was very fortunate to find a program that would fit in my busy lifestyle that I
Hmm.
could do from home. And then there are some, on campus components to it. And that's
Right.
kind of nice.
Yeah.
And with that, a dream became a reality.
See,
And I
you
can't even
manifested
believe,
it because you
yeah.
took those
Oh,
steps. You got the
mhm,
idea, this art therapy thing, that's cool. And you took
mhm,
the steps and you investigated and you researched and you went and did it. And
right.
you're
And
amazing.
I'm a over 40-year-old woman. Like I am over 40. I'm well into the 40s and going on to the other side.
You
And
don't
so
look it. You look
just,
amazing.
oh,
Girl,
thank you,
that
honey.
picture you sent me a while ago, I was like, damn, she needs to be modeling or something. She's like
Well,
gorgeous. I was like, holy
just every
moly.
once in a while, you got to take a good picture to
Woo!
represent
Look at this.
yourself, right? To
You're
put
like,
yourself out there.
damn, girl.
Woo,
Woo, woo.
yes. Oh, yeah.
Look at
I
you.
had it all fluffed up in the right way too now. It's probably just
I
all a
was
mess.
like,
But anyway,
damn, you look hot. Smoking hot. And this is your
that's
work.
exactly
This
what I'm
is your
doing.
work. So tell us about the work that I'm showing off today.
Well, the one that's behind you, I actually did. There's a two-part series on that. There's that one, and then there's a bearded dragon that I did for a commission.
Mm,
I had an individual who was going to a reptile convention where
hmm.
they sell reptiles, and they wanted to represent some images of reptiles. So they sent me some pictures
Uh-huh.
to go from, and so I painted that one in a watercolor, and then I also have a bearded dragon that's in a watercolor that I got to send to this convention to be on display. And so I
Nice.
was very proud. It did really well. Got lots of attention
I'm
from what I heard.
sure.
Very well received. So I'm excited. I do a lot of commission work. People will send me images of, that they want to have reproduced. Either I do watercolor, oil, acrylic, or drawing, whatever. I've
Wow.
done, colored pencils as well. And then, that's the artist side of me. You got
Yeah.
to make money at art somehow.
Well, right, right.
So
But you have your
that's
own
kind of what,
studio. You have your own studio
oh yeah.
where you
Oh
teach
yeah.
classes.
Yep, I do. I teach art classes to all different ages. We even do ceramics. So I have kilns to actually fire clay and
Oh, I need to come down there and start taking classes, girl. I've been
oh my,
missing it. I was looking at the junior college here, and it's on Monday nights, but Hannah's car has been messed up, so I haven't done it yet. But I
yeah,
need something that's a little flexible where I can kind of come down and do a class when I'm not
that's
playing
what it
taxi
is.
mom or something.
See, and that's what I do. I want to do it's an open studio sort of consortium, if you will. So you schedule time with me, whatever around your schedule, and then you can use the studio and
Mm,
create your art. Now,
that's nice.
if you want to do clay, if you don't bring your own clay, I do ask that we keep it to like 2 pieces per session, but
Mm.
typically a lot of students don't have a
So
problem
you,
bringing their own
when
clay.
you say clay, you're talking like throwing pots?
Yeah, I've got
You got a
wheels.
wheels? Oh my
Wheels, or
goodness.
you can free build. It's whatever you feel.
That's a messy business.
Other stuff, like I do provide like art products such as acrylics and paints and canvases, and I have stuff like that around that I supply.
Is that
But
included in
if
the
you
fee to come use your studio and take the class or whatever?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So, and it just kind of depends on what medium you're wanting to focus on, and that fee kind of goes. Like if you're oil paint, the cost of oil paints is
Hmm.
higher than
Yeah.
acrylic and watercolors. So something like that costs a little bit more, depending on how big a canvas you want to use. But if you have your own, you
Hmm.
can bring those in, and then you just have to pay the hourly fee, which is
Mm.
$25 an hour, which
I
isn't
didn't
that
girl. All
bad.
right. Yeah, I'm signing me up. Sign me up. All right. So what's this piece
Mhm.
behind you?
Now, this piece here, let me try to lean to the
Art
side.
therapy. Oh, wow. Yes.
Right. So, a part of the art therapy process is doing response art. Often we hear with art therapy, I'm getting a dual degree in counseling. So,
Wow.
I will, when I'm done, be a full licensed therapist. And then so I'll be a licensed mental health counselor
And this is
as
a
well
master's
as
program you're in.
master's level
Okay.
program.
Okay.
Exactly.
Hmm.
I'm a master's level clinician. So
Okay.
I actually diagnose, I don't prescribe medication, but I do the diagnosis and I do therapy. And then right
Wow.
now I'm working with my internship in a community healthcare center here locally. So I'm very
Oh my
fortunate to have that
God. What else you
opportunity.
doing? When do you do this? 4 kids, three
Actually, right
businesses.
now, that's pretty much full time. I'm
Wow.
doing the internship because I've got to get those hours by the
Okay.
time in order to graduate
Right.
and be fully, be able to qualify for my licensure.
Hmm.
But yeah, so with that, the art therapy response art part is when you are sitting in a session with a client and they're doing art. Sometimes you get to do art alongside, but a lot of times you're witnessing and
Right.
you're just, being in the moment because people are sharing trauma. People are sharing some experiences that will just melt your mind, really. I mean, some of the stuff is
Is this
hard,
is
hard to
this like
understand.
when you say trauma, I'm just going to give some examples like sexual abuse or child abuse or neglect or abandonment
Childhood
issues,
trauma, domestic
divorce, domestic
abuse,
violence. Okay. Okay.
substance use, extreme substance use,
Oh goodness. Okay.
but a
Mhm.
lot of childhood trauma. Now I work with adults in my internship,
Okay.
but a lot of experiences with childhood trauma.
Ugh, just makes me mad.
Um,
People hurting
oh,
children.
you
Oh
a
my God. I don't know if I could do that
lot.
part because I'd be like, where's that parent
Oh, you would be
at?
surprised. And you have to hold your stuff together because it's not
Hmm.
about you.
I
And
know, right?
I mean, like, and that's the hard part about it is like truly being present and
Mm-hmm.
witnessing and being there because I have to listen and I have to be present without
Hmm.
judgment. These
Yeah.
people live their lives with judgment.
Yeah.
I mean, there's identity crisis. There's a
Hmm.
lot of individuals that are struggling with, I just don't know where my place is in the world.
Well,
And
here's the funny
so
thing about that. And I'm not trying to belittle it in any way, but I have never met a person in my life who hasn't questioned who they are, why they're here, what's their purpose, why am I so unique and different than, that they conceive themselves as being unique and different than everybody else. And it always takes me back to something my grandma always used to say to me, because my grandma always said, I want you to appreciate everybody's uniqueness because God made us that way on purpose. Because if we were all robots, the world would be boring and none of us would have a special thing to do or be. And I always loved that because when I meet people who are new and different and unique, I just like, oh my God, this is someone new and interesting. Where other people, they worry about themselves, like, why am I different? Why aren't I not like somebody else? But what everybody doesn't realize is we're all different from everybody else. None of us are the same.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And I feel that that's something that we tend to lose. We
Hmm.
lose that because we spend most of our time looking at everybody. I hate to say it, technology has really brought a lot of
Yep.
those,
Social media.
insecurities to light because we see social media, we see everybody living perfect life.
And they're
We see
not. There's
all
just
the
those
perfections.
10
Right.
seconds of them smiling all at once. You
Yeah,
know,
looking amazing,
yeah,
right? Like the
right.
picture you showed of me
Mm-hmm.
earlier, looking
Mm-hmm.
completely amazing. Yeah, I posed for that. I made sure the
Mm-hmm.
lighting was perfect. But
Mm-hmm.
like this is me realistically, like right now.
Yeah.
And then on
And you're still
any
beautiful. I
day,
mean,
I still have like there's things about me that are just they're not the level of perfection that you see on social media.
right.
And I feel that that causes a lot of incongruencies with people's identity because they
Yeah.
feel that they should represent this. Why is my life not like that?
Yeah.
I've worked hard, I've done this, I've done that. Why am I not? And also it presents the opportunity to, you know, try to measure yourself with somebody else's ruler. Is
Mm-hmm.
how I kind of put it
Mm-hmm.
that way. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
measuring yourself by their ruler. They're
Yeah.
trying to measure themselves by somebody else's ruler, and it's just chaos,
Yeah,
and
it
it
really
causes
is.
a
It really,
lot
really
of
is. Because like
issues.
when I go into like networking groups, they're sizing you up as you walk in the door. I'm like, I'm here to network and talk about great, wonderful things, not to look you up and down and judge you because I've got preconceived ideas what that outfit or hairdo or skin color or nail polish or whatever it is means. And
Hmm.
then they isolate themselves because you're not one of me. And they're automatically going, I don't want to hang out with you because you're going to judge me. I just walked in the door. And I see it happening all the time in all kinds of social gatherings. People are not being open minded to just accept the person who's coming in the door and just trying to find out their uniqueness and get to know them and appreciate the opportunity to get to know someone different. It's just this judgmental, like you said, um, mindset that everybody seems to have. And they're most critical of judging themselves.
Oh yeah. And I think that creates this whole fear that you see pretty consistent, of people afraid to be their authentic selves. They're
Yeah.
afraid to be who they are. And
Yeah.
so they build this cocoon and they build this wall, this exterior, or sometimes a separate identity,
Mm-hmm.
and a separate reality in some cases.
Oh,
Um,
goodness.
yes,
Oh,
yes. I
goodness.
mean, all of this is represented in mental health care, and you get different sort of facets, and sessions can be sometimes just trying to understand those different, sort of, you know, different identities, or not necessarily in the sense of like multiple identities, but
Mm-hmm.
different ways and perceptions that people view themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then trying to break through that perception, or trying to break through that, we call it, negative self-talk that we all
Yes.
have.
Yes.
And
I'm so stupid. What's wrong with me today? I can, and I catch myself too, and they all tell you don't do it because your brain is hearing it and it's replaying over and over. Next thing you know, you believe it, and
yeah, you believe it.
you believe it and you start acting the way you've been telling yourself, like, I'm so dumb. Well, next thing you know, you're acting dumb. It's just, it's so hard because a lot of us grow up in atmospheres where parents aren't nice and parents don't say anything. And it takes me back to what is that guy, that scientist? You may have heard him. He's Japanese, Moto, I think is the last name, Moto, about the water crystals
Hmm.
and the vibrations and what we say to ourselves and what we say to each other resonates the frequency through our bodies, and the body learns it. The body
Hmm.
learns it from what we're saying.
And it stores that trauma
Yep.
at a cellular level. That's
Yes.
one thing people don't think about. It
Yes.
stores it and it changes. You can actually experience trauma that changes the way your body reacts,
Mm-hmm.
and locks you in, and also changes your physiology, changes the way your body
Mm-hmm.
it works.
Mm-hmm.
I
I think it
mean,
changes the DNA. I think it goes all the way down
it
to the
can.
DNA level.
It can be passed along,
Yeah.
and generational trauma. And
Generational. And I think that's where the Bible thing comes from because our bad habits and our negative self talk and the way we were treated, we then pass that along. And not only is it in when the baby's crying in the mother, it's getting it, but then it's hearing it and receiving it on the outside world. It's just this constant domino effect. It
oh
has
yeah.
to be
Oh yeah.
broken somewhere, and it's not going to be unless you start positive self talk, like you were saying, and positive talk to others. Like with my youngest daughter, she's not. she's a kid. She makes mistakes, but I don't make fun of her. I'll go, well, honey, you made a mistake. So what'd you learn from it? And then I hug her and kiss her and tell her how great and wonderful and blessed she is. And I'm lucky to have her in my life because that constant positive words help her get past her feeling bad about what she's done and the negative self-talk she's given herself, like, oh my god, I'm so stupid, I made this mistake. And then I try to overlap that with, no, you're wonderful, you're great, and all these positive things. I had a friend of mine who had a redheaded child, and she would always say one child was her blessed wonderful child and the other child was her problem difficult pain in the ass kid. Well, she started saying that when he was a toddler. Well, by the
Mm.
time he was a teenager, guess what? He was a handful and then some. And I think they just live up to whatever you call them.
Yeah, they kind of learn to expect that that's what you expect from
Yeah.
them. So
Yeah.
why change? They always are going to blame it on me. So why would I give them a reason, not
Not
to?
to. Right. So I'm sure when you're doing your art therapy and learning about it, these are the kind of things that, you're preparing in your studies to do and help others, and you're doing it your intern. And it's really sad because people take these things into their adulthood and then they can't figure out why they're not having a good relationship. They wind up in my office getting a divorce and they're like, why am I getting a divorce? And within a few minutes, and I hear what they're saying about themselves and their partner and their situation, I'm thinking, well, I know why, but you can't really say anything.
Oh.
'Cause I'm not a therapist, but
It takes a lot because there's part of the therapeutic process is just listening and learning what they're saying.
mhm,
Then after you hear about all the stuff that they've got going on, you have
yeah,
to break through that. You
yeah.
have to break through that. And what kind of just from human interaction and learning, it takes more than maybe a couple of weeks or months to break through years of programming.
Oh,
Years
yes.
of programming, of negative programming. You've got to break through that. Plus, the likelihood that I'm able to take that individual out of the environment that is like been programming them for however many years
Mhm.
and just put them in a new fresh environment is very unlikely.
Yeah.
So there's environmental factors that are still feeding into
Mhm.
sometimes trauma that is ongoing, perpetual. There
Mm,
are individuals that are still being traumatized, not just necessarily by other people, but by their environment
mm,
and by, just kind of what they've grown up with and they've just come to accept. And
yeah.
they don't even know it. And so sometimes after hearing it, you have to allow them to recognize it because I can't cure anybody. They have to
Right.
cure themselves.
And
They
you can cure yourself, but you have
Yeah,
to
for
believe you
some.
can. And you've got to do the deep, hard work. And you're going to run into these times when things aren't going to be pleasant and you're going to have to recall things that are uncomfortable. But until you bring it to the surface and address it, I think, and I know there's some sort of therapy out there, the tapping and some different things and regression where you can go back and um, change the story. Because a lot
Yeah,
of times people have created a story, and over time, that story has gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. And I believe there's a way you can go backwards to the core of the story and look for the positives and recreate that story and narrative that you're saying over and over and over in your head.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely certain therapeutic processes that they go into regression and they go into using repetitive motion. And I'm not necessarily trained in those things, so
Right,
I
right.
know how they work.
Hmm.
I know the theories behind them,
But
but I
isn't that
don't.
kind of similar to the art therapy? Because that's coming out
Oh
and
yeah.
you're addressing it as it's coming out, and it may not be a regression, but it's like a presentation of
Oh
the
yeah.
situation. So what happens, you see their feelings in their art.
Oh yes. Okay, so a lot of times there's a couple of different ways that art therapy can work. There's art as therapy and then there's art therapy. So there's the art as therapy, which is the everybody, we do art together, we feel good, it's wonderful, and the process of creating art is therapeutic in itself.
Hmm.
But then the art therapy aspect is using art therapy as a therapeutic process. Now, that is a little bit more intricate and tricky, and it's very much depending on the client. So it's client driven. You will get some clients that are ready to tackle trauma and they're ready to like open up the door and let that come out.
Hmm.
But for the most part, my experience is a lot of people have that blockage. They've worked so hard to keep that trauma repressed,
Mm,
to keep that, and they're like, oh no, because a lot of people don't want that stuff to come out because they've gotten really good at keeping it down and keeping it hidden. But
right. Too
some facet
painful.
of their life, yeah, some facet of their life has not been working or functioning
Mm-hmm.
properly, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why they're coming in for therapeutic services.
Well, I
And
like
so
that because
that's kind of,
I get clients all the time who, when I start talking to them about their relationships, and some of this kind of stuff starts coming out. So I'm glad I have another avenue where to send people because, oh my gosh, nearly everybody who comes in my office for a divorce, they either have been through trauma in their past and they've brought it into the relationship, or they've come into the relationship having grown up in a decent, happy environment, but they've coupled themselves with someone who had childhood abuse and trauma and rapes and molestations and all this and drugs and alcohol. And now they are damaged because they've been spent 10 or 20 years in that environment with the person who is damaged. And I don't, it's probably not the best word for it, but that they're acting out inappropriately based on their trauma and their view of the world from what they went through. And so, that old saying that crazy people drive normal people crazy. No, it's not very politically correct, but I can't think of another way to kind of explain it. It's just like they're not well, and then they treat their partner in a really bad way. Now the partner's traumatized, and you wind up with this huge mess.
mhm.
It's
It's
terrible.
really, it's very terrible. There was this example, and I don't remember exactly the presenter who gave this example, but it was really quite interesting. It was in reference to like childhood sexual abuse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're talking about like a normal individual, when you go out into the woods, if you see a bear, you got your fight, flight, or,
Freeze.
freeze.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you've got these responses that are, survival responses that
Right.
are programmed into us. And we react to that bear.
Mm-hmm.
One of those ways we're going to react to, we're going to either fight it, we're going to run from it, or we're going to freeze. That's
Right.
how we deal with that sort of scary experience.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this individual said, think about if that bear was coming into your house at night,
Mm-hmm.
every night,
Every
and
night.
you're living with the bear
Yep.
and you're always on survival
Yep.
mode. Get to the point where your body gets stuck in that,
Yep.
where your normal functioning is survival mode.
Yeah.
And so you always, the adrenaline, and so certain things will trigger, as an adult when you've experienced something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Certain
Yeah.
smells, certain times of the day, certain experiences, certain words that are said, certain looks, or
Mm-hmm.
certain, individuals might trigger those trauma
Mm-hmm.
responses.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we will take in experiences from our past, and our body reacts to these things by releasing energy, or adrenaline and hormones in there
Mm-hmm.
to prepare us for fight or flight.
The
So
cortisol.
yeah, cortisol. So when we get into a relationship, and we perhaps in the past had a domestic relationship that was
Mm-hmm.
abusive,
Uh-huh.
and we're in a current relationship, we may have someone who's not got anything in their mind that they're going to be physically abusive, never shown that.
Mm.
But they may look at us a certain way. They may, have a certain look on their face, or even raise their voice to a certain octave
Mm-hmm.
that triggers that response,
Mm-hmm.
that
Makes you
trauma
hyper
survival
vigilant,
response.
hyper
Right.
vigilant to the things that happen to you. Mm-hmm. And
Right.
and
And
that's
so
part
it's
of
really
that
hard.
survival. That's part of that
That's
survival. Mm-hmm.
right. So deconstructing that trauma response,
Mm-hmm.
deconstructing the reason behind the trauma response, and letting individuals know, hey, this was not okay. You
Mm-hmm.
endured something that was not okay.
Right.
And that's okay that you're not okay. But we
Mm-hmm.
got to work through getting through that so that your future is not a mirror of everything that in your past. We can't just
Right.
keep reliving this and getting stuck.
Yep.
Because if you get stuck in that functioning, it doesn't matter if you have like the best individual or partner put in front of you, or the best situation or the best experience in front of you. You're always going to be operating on that survival mode
Yep.
based off of your trauma. And
Yeah.
so
And
lot of work, trauma
It's
work.
hard to have a normal relationship once you've been with some sort of narcissistic, sociopathic, borderline, multi personality, whatever it is, person,
Hmm.
because now you're so hyper that you've had to learn and become so hyper vigilant because when that bear came home every night, you were like walking on eggshells. Am I going to get beat up tonight? What name am I going to get called tonight? Am I going to get accused of something I didn't do? Or am I get yelled at because the dishes aren't perfect or, whatever it is. And
Hmm.
then they wait in the next relationship they're in. Cause I see it. Cause I've divorced people who've been married 2 or 3 times and
Hmm.
it's the same stuff. So, I always recommend they go see a therapist about it because I tell them, I say, now it's time to figure out what it is within you that allows you to keep drawing that kind of person into your life, or why you're reacting to a person whenever this happens. So I say you need to go get some sort of counseling so you can work this through so you won't do this again, so you won't wind up in the exact same situation again.
Well, and then I also feel that it's very important to look at the personality types. Like, because when you reference a narcissistic personality type, those people tend to be very self-centered and gravitate towards people who worship them. They
Mm-hmm.
want to surround themselves with people who think they're the best of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happens is you get people who are very empathetic, who are very open and very sensitive to other people's needs and providing for other people's needs,
Mm-hmm.
attaching to those types of people
Mm-hmm.
because the narcissistic personality, they love the attention
Mm-hmm.
that more of the empathetic people will give them.
Yeah.
They're open, authentic with them. They're
Yeah.
willing to be fully present with them, and
Mm-hmm.
they feed off of that. And
Yeah, it's
so
like a
those
vampire. I always call it
empathetic
a
people.
like a psychic vampire. They just suck everything out of you because they need you. Like vampires need blood, and
Exactly.
it's really
And then
sick.
empathetic people are willing to give and give and
Mm-hmm.
give and give and give. They don't know how to usually put up boundaries
Mm-hmm.
to shut themselves off. So you have
Right.
to learn how to really work within those boundaries
Right.
so that you can protect yourself. So even in the helping profession of mental health, I have to work within boundaries to protect myself
Right.
because you can be too open.
Mm.
And that's when you start hearing things in session that trauma, you can also get vicarious trauma from other people's
So they
trauma.
call that like secondary trauma because you're hearing of what's going
Secondary
on with them.
trauma,
Yeah. Okay.
secondary trauma or vicarious trauma.
Okay.
So
Well,
you
I
just
hate
have
to
to be
say this, but we have 2 minutes left.
2 minutes.
So
This
two
has been so
minutes.
much fun.
I know. I love hanging out with you, girl. I miss you so much.
Yeah,
I
thank you
haven't
so
seen you
much.
since October, whatever it
I
was.
know, I
I know.
know.
I
Well, we're
miss you
gonna
so
get
much.
together soon.
Let's
It
please
just
do
needs to
because
get warm outside.
you and I could talk all day long. Well, I'm going to come down and do some art with you. Well,
Yeah.
as always, you're fascinating, and I just, oh my gosh, you and I could talk all day. Like you're just so smart and so beautiful and a good person, and I always enjoy your presence. And how can people find you if they're going through trauma and they want to do some art and they want to balance out that left brain, right brain, and get past some of the crap they've been through? So, how do people reach you? What are phone numbers, address, websites? What do you want to share?
Okay, so yeah, my
You gotta be quick. We have
website.
1 minute.
Okay. Actually, best way is to give me a call. Phone
Okay.
number is 812-902-9099. You can call or text, and then
Okay.
I can get you set up with classes and get you the
Okay.
information you need.
Perfect. I love you. You're just so beautiful and wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm coming down to Bedford, girl. Let's plan
All
it.
right.
I'll get
We're
Hannah to
gonna
come
go do
with me.
something fun.
All
Yes.
right, let's do it. I
All
want to do some
right.
art. I miss doing art. That was something I always loved. So I miss it.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that more of my friends art with me.
I know. I need to be. All right, girl. Love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. See you soon. Thank you so much for being on the show. Everybody like and share because this is amazing and she's amazing.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, girls. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.